So welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living and our online Sunday service. I'd like to introduce our practitioner for the day, who is our assistant minister, Reverend Leslie Massapost.
Please join me in consciousness as I know that there is only the one power in that universe, this universe, the whole universe, and I call it God. It is that power that was the inspiration for today's talk. It is that voice that speaks to us when we say, after listening to the morning lesson, I never thought of it that way before. Or that message that is an aha. We know that this is the power that is at the center of all of us, bringing us together in that information that feeds our soul, that empowers us as individuals, that is the spark of life for all that is. We see its beauty all around us, and we are thankful for our knowingness that it is the source of all that is. So we let these words go and we move forward in our day in excitement and in joy and in love. And so it is. When I was looking at the quote to pick for the day, and I was looking at the topic for the day and for the month, and thought about when we have issues that come up in our lives. One of the things we do sometimes is we get right in the middle of the problem first, and all the drama that goes along with it before we remember to turn within where the greatest power is. And this is what Ralph Waldo Emerson has to say about that. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And then Henry Ford lets us know when everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. So now let us join together in a couple of minutes of silence as we contemplate that power within. We now come back together as we prepare to say the affirmation for the month of September. Please join me as I say it. Today, I rise above circumstances. I draw my awareness to the present moment, free of judgment, opinion, or expectation. In everything I see an underlying perfect unity. I live in a consciousness of love, peace, and gratitude. In this way, I consciously co-create my life, and so it is.
And Richard, has some music for us, our maestro.
Yes, I do. Yeah, this is a song I really like. Speaking about that tenacity, it was performed, at least that's the first time I heard it, in I think it was the Canadian Winter Olympics in 2010. And talking about tenacity, talking about, being alone in a sense. You have goals in the Olympics. You're trying to rise to the top, be all that you can be. This song describes that feeling. And in a sense, that's metaphorically what we're all dealing with. Because I believe there comes a moment when my heart must stand alone on this lonely path I've chosen, like a house that's not a home. Sometimes when I feel I've had enough and I feel like giving up, will me to be all I can be. Now nothing can stop me. I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe that together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. This is the moment we have dreamed of all our lives. Will be the change we wish from others. We'll stand tall for what is right. And in my heart there'll be no doubt. The arms of the world will come reaching out and embrace me to be all I can be. Now nothing can stop all of us. I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe that together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I. Yes, I believe in the power that comes from a world brought together as one. I believe that together we'll fly. I believe in the power of you and I believe in the power of you and I. I believe.
That was beautiful, Richard. Thank you so much. I really love that. I love the lyrics. I believe in the power of you and I. Ah, so true. So good morning again. I'm Reverend Michelle Ingalls. And once again, I'd like to welcome you to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And today's talk title, And Still I Rise, you probably recognize it. It's taken from the title of a poem by Maya Angelou. And I find her poem, And Still I Rise, when I read it, I feel that it's alive with the spirit of life. You know, when I read it, I can just kind of feel that energy of life flowing through it. It speaks to the invincible and resilient nature of life, you know, that nature within us. And to feel that even in the face of our most difficult challenges, actually, we might even say to be able to feel that in the face of, because of our most difficult challenges, you know, and her poem just kind of fills me with that feeling of wonder and gratitude. And it was kind of the same feeling that I get when I see like a dandelion or some weed pushing its way up to the crack in the sidewalk. You know, I'm always amazed at the tenacity. I love that word, Richard used it, the tenacity of life, that life force, God, spirit, the presence, whatever we call it, is always finding a way, always taking full advantage of every opportunity available, and to make good use of it. I just find that really inspiring, you know. And I'm not going to read Maya Angelou's entire poem, but I wanted to share the last stanza of it with you. And I've got it here. I rarely share my screens anymore because it takes up so much time. I toggle back and forth, but I wanted to read the last stanza to you or share it with you so you could see it. And she wrote, "Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wonderfully clear, wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise." Oh, that's so beautiful. I think that's lovely, you know, and I can just, can you feel the life in that? Can I rise? Can you feel that? You know, it opens me up and expands me, you know, and we know that life can be pretty unpredictable. I mean, who would have guessed that we're moving into 2 years of dealing with a pandemic? You know, stuff happens. And as human beings, we're kind of hardwired to survive, to move through these things, but not only to just survive, but to thrive, you know, and in doing that, we're always trying to predict what might come our way so we can be prepared, you know, for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I wear my seatbelt, I have insurance, I prepare for certain possibilities. But the truth is that we will never be able to predict everything that comes our way. Life is unpredictable. Even when we consciously, as good metaphysicians, hone our skills to participate with natural laws and co-create a life that looks pretty much the way we want it to look and feels pretty much the way we want it to feel, stuff still happens. And we don't live in a vacuum. You know, the world we live in is influenced not only by us, but by all of us. We're all part of the collective consciousness. We're all thinking and feeling into the same mind. Ernest Holmes, our founder, called it race suggestion. Actually, I have a quote from him about race suggestion. It's in The Science of Mind on page 348. I think Jim will put it in the chat for you. But he wrote, "Race suggestion is a very real thing. And each individual carries around with him and has written in his mentality, on your subjective mind, many impressions which he never consciously thought of or experienced. When we realize that the individual's use of the one subjective mind, we shall see that a subjective unity is maintained between all people. We're all united. We're all in living and moving and thinking into the same mind." And this is why I think one of the most useful spiritual practices that we teach in Science of Mind is awareness. The practice of becoming aware of what we think and feel during our daily lives. We were talking about this in our Tuesday meeting that Maureen Bishop has been facilitating on the book from Dennis Maris Jones. But the practice of becoming aware is an ongoing thing. It's certainly not a once and done. And in the education system of Science of Mind, you know, we put all of the principles and all of the practices that we teach, and one of the practices is self-awareness. And it's described like this: self-awareness is the practice. Now let's listen to this because this is important, I think. Self-awareness is the practice of being conscious of one's motivations, internal dialogue, and hidden beliefs. It is a willingness to observe and take responsibility for one's internal and external choices. Self-awareness is the foundation for conscious choice. And self-awareness takes practice. You know, we're so used to our own personal perspective and how we've learned to see the world and see things in the world and relate to life, that bringing our awareness to the thoughts we're thinking and how we feel and how we show up during our daily life, that's an ongoing practice. It's a learned skill. And I found that it helps me to be self-aware by watching how I feel, you know, and if I feel a little off kilter, if I'm a little uncomfortable, you know, I can ask myself why. And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, what if I ask myself why I feel this way, and then ask, what is my highest thought about this particular situation right now? It moves me, allows me to experience what I'm experiencing, but move me into a greater way of seeing the situation. You know, because we're so heavily influenced by the things in our outside world, it's so very tempting to think that we're at the mercy of what is going on in the world around us. You know, but the good news is that while things are bound to come up, stuff happens, we are empowered in every moment to embrace everything that comes our way from a solid connection to spirit. Again, a learned skill. This is the foundational principle of life. And this connection that we develop through our spiritual practice, through our meditation, our prayer time, gives us a solid place to stand. And it builds a deeper trust and a faith in life, and that all things are moving forward toward a greater expression of good. So yes, we know that unplanned and unpredictable things will come our way, but we are always empowered to greet them with non-resistance, to just let them come, to let them be what they are, and to expand and let go of them. Oh, I experienced that. But what is my highest thought about this particular situation right now? You know, here's when we get into trouble. When we get into trouble is when we live in a constant fear that something unwanted will come up. You ever do that? I am really good at writing me some good stories about what might come up, because we know that as metaphysicians, creative law will meet those expectations. It will say yes to that story, whatever it is I've written. Especially if we have a very strong emotion of fear resonating within us, we know that we're always creating through the power of light, always working, and it will accept anything that we present to it. The predominant thoughts and feelings and states of being will demonstrate in our lives. And I don't know about you, but I would prefer to write a better story, to think, what is my highest thought about this particular situation? You know, because I can catastrophize it up real good. I could write some pretty good stories, but I'm also empowered to see that I am here experiencing this moment. Whatever it is that this moment has to offer me, and every moment has something. Whatever this moment has in it for me, I greet. And I'm empowered, and so are you, to see whatever life's potential and meaning is being offered to me right now, under any circumstance, under any situation, and any event. You know, no matter what it is, I'm empowered to stop and again to ask, what is the highest thought I can have about this moment, about this situation, about this experience? Can you feel the difference when we talk about living in a state of fear of what might happen, and in contrast to talking about embracing every moment with the tenacity, I love that word, and the indomitable spirit of life? One feels very small and constrictive, and the other feels big and bold and expansive. And still I rise. And while we may not be able to predict and control everything that happens in our lives, we're creative beings, and we're empowered to manage what we put our attention on at any given moment. And we can live in a state of fearful anticipation, always waiting for that other shoe to drop. Can you feel the constriction in that? Or we can live in a state of playful curiosity and wonder about what gift will come our way with this experience, with this encounter. Can you feel the expansion in that? Can you feel the qualitative difference between the two approaches? I certainly know what I prefer. So in preparation for today's message, as I always do, I always say this because it's true, I start looking for all kinds of wonderful examples and illustrations of this idea of rising again, of having that highest and greatest thought for any situation. So I started thinking about all the wonderful stories that have woven their way through our human history, about the power of spirit and the power of the spirit of life that constantly rises, rising for whatever looks like loss or destruction, and it rises into a stronger and wiser and expanded expression of life. We have so many wonderful stories. I thought of the story of Moses leading the Israelites out of bondage from Egypt. It's a call for freedom to express life unbound and unhindered. I love that story, expressing itself as a freedom. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, that the quality of freedom is what allows life to expand. We need that sense of freedom to expand and grow. Or then there's Jesus rising from the dead, and that speaks to the continuity of life, expressing itself even after we no longer inhabit a physical body. There's the story in Greek mythology of the phoenix bird rising from the ashes, emerging from the fire, stronger, wiser, more powerful. We have some really great examples just in nature. One we use all the time is the caterpillar. It completely deconstructs. It's just a big mass of goo inside the chrysalis. Nothing more, just these unformed cells. And then it begins to put itself back together into the beautiful butterfly, free to fly. And oh, I love this one. I found this. I knew this from my horticulture days, but did you know that there are some seeds that have to go through fire before they will germinate? They're fire activated seeds, and they're seeds of some plants. A lot of them are pines, and they come in the cones, but they're coated with resin that protects the seed. And when there's a fire, the resin melts away, and then the seed germinates, and they can lie dormant in the soil for decades before a fire comes along and burns them into whatever their next expression is. Pretty amazing. And nature's just so intelligent and so amazing. Rising from the ashes. Have you ever felt like you're rising from the ashes when something happens to you and you begin to move past it, and you realize what a great lesson you have learned from that? You've gleaned the wisdom for whatever it is. You've actually walked through the fire, and now you feel as if you are beginning to expand. I think all of us at one time or another have felt that. But the last example that I found that I really like, that I really think speaks to us as human beings in our everyday daily life, is an example that I found about daily renewal in a book by Mark Nepo. It's a book called The Endless Practice. And in this example, he describes the amazing adventure, the daily adventure of zooplankton. And he explains that zooplankton comes from the Greek words for animal and for drifter or wanderer. I love that. Zooplankton live all over the world in all different kinds of bodies of water. You know, they live in very small ponds. He said they even live in like little puddles sometimes, small ponds, and they also live in the wide open ocean or seas. They're everywhere. And these zooplankton have a daily migration. They come up to the surface of the water from the depths below, and on their way, they eat and they process phytoplankton, which are just tiny little plant organisms, but they eat them on their way up to the surface. They act like a little filtering system, a filtering agent of whatever body of water they happen to be living in. So they not only survive, but they thrive. And at the same time, they are contributing to the health of any body of water that they happen to live in. And I'm going to read something from Nepo in his book when he writes about this. He writes, this persistent drifting from depth to surface and back is particularly instructive for the life of the soul, and how we need to stay in the world and process our experience in order to feed and cleanse our working spirit and the small part of the universe that we inhabit. You know, I love that idea of our persistent drifting from the depth of our being up into on the surface of our human lives, you know, drifting from the invisible source within us into the visible world that we walk around in as human beings. And as we do this, we practice this cleansing action of introspection, you know, going into the depth of our own being, which is connected to the infinite spiritual being, and finding what is there: creativity, friendship, abundance, compassion, love. I could go on. And bringing that to the surface and allowing our journey upward to be filtered through anything that we happen to be experiencing. Inner peace of the depths below bubbles up into the humanness, into our dailiness, that we allow the divine presence to drive our humanity in the way in which we show up in the world. And he went on, and I'm going to later in that same explanation, he wrote this that I thought was worth reading. So he wrote, imagine the tiniest cells of being rising within you this very moment, cleansing your thoughts and feelings. Imagine how you and I pulse our way through the days, eating and processing the food of relationships, meaning, and care. So the things that we encounter, even those that are unpredictable and maybe even unwanted, are the food for our soul as we encounter them and move into an expanded sense of being because of them, whatever they are. But we must be able to greet them with non-resistance, without judgment, without blame, without commentary. Let them be, digest them like the zooplankton, and let them go. You know, we're these phenomenal divine beings. And we live in two worlds. You know, one of the worlds is the physical reality, and the other is the world of spirit and consciousness. And we've been given this amazing gift of expressing spirit in human form. I mean, think about it. It's pretty phenomenal. It's an amazing gift. When I think about the things that had to line up for us to even be able to live as human beings, to live the lives we live, I'm certain that these events are more than just a string of random lucky coincidences, but rather these are events orchestrated by a benevolent, intelligent presence to support and express life. You know, it certainly appears that all of the physical laws of the universe are finely tuned to express life, our lives, by design. They do not feel random to me. I ran across, again, in my exploration of this topic, I ran across this wonderful quote by a biochemist who actually won the Nobel Prize for Physiology in 1967. His name is George Wald. And it was it hit me. And so I thought I should share it. And the quote by George Wald is, listen to this. This is a scientist. It is mind that has composed a physical universe that breeds life. And so eventually evolves creatures, you and me, that know and create. In them, the universe begins to know itself. In us, the universe begins to know itself. And this is certainly aligned with the teaching of Science of Mind, which says that there is only one life, one mind, one infinite consciousness, which is the first cause to everything that exists in a universe that is set up to express life in all of its magnificence and all of its variety. Holmes called it multiplicity from unity. I love that line. And I personally have this deep intuitive knowing that we exist so that this, let's call it an all-inclusive life, can know itself through us as our lives. We're living the same life. And apparently that's what this biochemist George Wald believed as well. Life is a gift that is given from our Creator, and it is continually being given. We are always creating. It's always creating through us. And it's up to us to do our daily migration, as Mark Nepo pulled it, from the depths of our source, from the depths of our consciousness and our union with this divine source, to the surface of our physical human experience. That's what we do. We pull up the source and live it. We literally bring heaven to earth. So I want to, just as a last little thing here, I wanted to jump to a practice that I've been talking about for the last couple of Sundays. I originally introduced it as a practice called Freeze Frame, which was designed by the HeartMath Institute. And last week, I kind of presented I tweaked it a little, and I kind of did this little streamlined thing because I thought maybe 3 words would be a little easier to remember. And those 3 words, if you can remember, were center, be still. That's actually 4 words if I put the B in there. I think I just said stillness before. Center, stillness, and focus. And I thought it might be helpful to kind of dig into that a little bit. What are we actually doing when we center and be still and focus? Well, first we center. And what does it mean to center? And how do we do that? And we begin by our breath. We always begin with the breath. And as we focus on our breath, we draw our attention away from the noise and the activity of the outside world, and we move into the presence of spirit within us. Doesn't that feels good just talking about it? And this is where we align with our divine nature, our source. Here are the seeds of consciousness within us. And as we quiet the noise of the outside world, we connect with the nature of divine source. And then we move into that stillness, that next step. It's here in the stillness of our inner world that we listen to the wisdom of our source. And if you've ever done visioning, then you know this is truth. That wisdom does not always come in words. Actually, for me, it rarely does. This wisdom can be given as an intuitive knowing, just a feeling, or a sound, or an image, or it could be a word. But in the stillness, we lay out the welcome mat for the divine truth. Ernest Holmes wrote that, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. He wrote, this experience, this spiritual experience, comes in the stillness of the soul when the outer voice is quiet, and we just center in. What a beautiful thought. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, who we've done a lot of talking about at our center in the last year or two, tells us that when we quiet the outer world, when we realize that we are not our body and that we're not our environment and that we're not time and space, in that kind of inner sanctuary, we begin to lower our brain waves. And he says it is here that we access the operating system, which is our connection to the universal subjective mind. And in this place of openness, of where everything exists already, we focus. We come into that last step of the process. We focus and we put our attention on what it is that we'd like to demonstrate in our lives. And we focus on love and on peace and abundance and wholeness. And we create in consciousness the state of being that we want to express in our outer world. And this whole process doesn't have to take more than a minute or two. You know, you could stop and pull back and do a little quick 2-minute reconnection, or it can be a 30-minute reconnection or more. But it's a way to familiarize ourselves with the qualities, the states of being, the vibrations of spirit, so that we can easily bring them back into our daily life, into our waking human beingness. That feels like a lot to me. So what I've come to believe is that when I bring myself into alignment with Source, into the wholeness of the one life of spirit, I am empowered to bring the unique gifts, because I'm just this unique individualized expression of the all that I've come here to bring. And in that I can bring my wholeness to the world and contribute to the collective wholeness, and that each one of us can do the same thing. Can you imagine if we all did that, went within and brought our beautiful individualized gifts to the collective experience of humanity and co-created a world of peace and love and wholeness? I can feel it. It requires that we don't balk at any experience that comes up at all. That all of the experience that life may throw at us, you know, throws us into the fire and then douses us with water and then bangs us around a little bit, just makes us sharp and strong like a sword. That we are these wonderful created beings, that our experiences in life, whatever they may be, shape us and bring us into an upward movement, and still I rise. Because if we run from the challenges that life brings us, then we miss the opportunities to become that stronger, wiser whole, and that life is preparing us to be. Just like that little plant that grows up, that tenaciously grows up through the crack in the sidewalk. There is something in us that wants to express itself, that wants to move upward. We cannot stop that, nor would we want to. You know, I'm reminded of that beautiful quote by Henry David Thoreau, which I'm sure you've heard a million times, but is so applicable to our own lives, where he wrote, "If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours." That is our truth. If we move confidently, trusting the all good, we will be met with this delightful experience of the all good. Oh, how usual. So let's move into prayer. I invite you to close your eyes with me. Take that deep centering breath in and follow it down into the depth of your being, into the heart space where we live, where we have our connection with the divine allness, God, spirit, life itself. Everything is within its circumference, and its circumference is infinite. And it is beautiful, and it is loving, and it is life, and it is experience, and it is big and bold and loud and quiet and soft and silent. It is the all that is, and we are in it. We are living our lives in it. I feel its presence. Its presence feels me. So I speak my word for and about each and every person that is present here on this call, and each and every person that is not. I speak my word for our beautiful and wonderful, beloved One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living, for our organization as a whole, Center for Spiritual Living, for each and every organization on the planet that is moving towards the expression and the expansion of good. I speak my word for our beloved country. I speak my word for our beloved planet, the beloved Mother Earth, that we walk upon her face, her soil every day. Thank you, God. And I know that there is a shift in consciousness for each and every life form that embodies a greater sense of being, of who and what we have come here to be. And it is in that loving acceptance and that allowing that we move into a world, an individual life that is peace and love and wholeness and beauty and wisdom and order and prosperity. We all prosper and thrive in a new and a fresh way, for life is. Oh, I love it. And I am so grateful for this ability to co-create with the allness, with the laws of universal good. And I just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I release this prayer knowing that law takes it effortlessly and willingly. And that I just relax and knowing that I have done my work. And now I allow spirit to do spirit's work. And we signify our agreement by saying together, and so it is. Hey, everybody. Coming back to.
Yes. Now is the time for our Sunday morning offering. It's an opportunity that we have to practice one of the abundance principles that we teach in the Science of Mind. It's a way of saying thank you to our higher source for those words that have come to us that enriches our soul and makes us so much stronger as individuals. Knowing that it's a two-way process, one of both giving and receiving, and that which we give always comes back to us multiplied with all of its riches. So now let's join together as we give our offering affirmation. I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy, and it flows back to me in kind, and so it is. And we do have a couple of ways that you can give. We have an account with Venmo where your Sunday morning donation will go directly into our bank account. Or if you wish to send a check, you can send that to our Assistant Treasurer, Jim Massacus. And Yvonne, I believe we're ready for our announcements.
Great, thank you. I'm going to start with Monday at 6 o'clock. We come together for 20 minutes on Zoom and pray for our center. And it's a silent prayer, and it is a really effective way to pray. And it makes you feel terrific. So Tuesday at 6 until 7 o'clock, we have Maureen Bishop, and she's facilitating a class that's based on Dennis Merritt Jones's book, The Art of Abundance. And he talks about 10 rules for a prosperous life there. So on Tuesday night, we'll be talking about be the flow, which is one of the rules. And another one is be passionate. And those are chapters 6 and 7. And Maureen says you do not have to have a book or have read it to be part of the class. It's really a great reminder of how to go about being prosperous. I'm really enjoying it myself.
Can I mention something?
Sure.
Sure. Flow is not just, we talk about the law of circulation, giving and receiving, but it's also about utilizing. And I bet you have some things in your shed or garage or closet that you have not utilized. And that's a huge blockage of power, energy. The other thing I wanted to mention when we talk about passion, we're going to be talking about that. This is a saying from Henry David Thoreau I wanted to share. He says, know your own bone, gnaw at it, bury it, unearth it, and gnaw it still. He's talking about doing what you love. So love to have you all there, and just love to have participation. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. I just wanted to say here that we have no idea when the temple will be going live. Again, they're still not open yet. They're using their courtyard and limiting the number of people that come. So just be aware of that we're still waiting for whatever's going to happen there. And then we have one last thing, which is a new program that we're starting at One Heart, One Mind, and we're calling it our music ministry. And our goal is to expand the music program and to give you all a chance to voice what you would enjoy hearing at our services. And you can contact, you might be able to contract her too, I don't know, Reverend Michelle, with any comments or ideas that you might have. And you can support our music ministry by donating whatever you would feel like you would like to directly. And you can use Venmo, or you could do it by personal check. If you do it on Venmo or personal check, either one, you have to make sure that you designate that it's for the music ministry. And I think that's it.
I just want to say, Richard, you are part of the music ministry. We don't want to exclude you. You're a very important part of our center. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, thank you, Yvonne. I love having different people do the announcements. A little variety. And let's see, our benediction for today. I don't know if you know, Rob. I hate to throw you under the bus, but it's you.
Benedicting is fun, so that's way cool. If everybody could just take a moment to, if they want. Morgan likes everything to be voluntary. So if you want, just relax and feel the God in the room, feel the goodness in the room, feel the goodness in the universe, because there's lots and lots and lots of it to feel. And the more you attempt to feel it, the more you do. And the more you do, the more positive you are that, as Michelle says, God's got your back. And so we take this time just to say thank you for a wonderful service and a wonderful opportunity to be together, to be a community, to be a family, and to feel our unity and our commonality, because that's what we've got. And it's really wonderful to have a family. I am so grateful for this family. I am so grateful for this Sunday morning opportunity to feel the good. I release this word to the universe. I let it be, I let it go. And together we say, as so it is.
And so it is. And Richard has a closing song for us. I think we're doing Loving Kindness. I thought maybe that would be a good thing to focus on this morning. I'll share the lyrics. I have them here somewhere. I've got to get them up, blah, blah, blah.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. may we be happy.
Thank you, Richard. We are happy. Thank you very much for joining us for our service today. And if you're watching this after the fact, thank you for watching then too. So if you'd like to stay on for our